Welcome back to the Hockey Show, and today I'm talking about the Detroit Red Wings and what they should be doing at the NHL trade deadline on March 3rd, or what they should be doing before that, because the time is now for them to act. They are currently tied with the second wild card spot in the in the Eastern Conference with the Florida Panthers with 64 points. They're 17th in the NHL, and they are in a tight race for that wild card spot. Right now, they are tied for the second one. First one's taken by the Islanders. Then it goes Red Wings and the Florida Panthers for 64 points. The Islanders have 67, so they've got a little bit of a lead over the other teams ahead of them, behind them. But for the other teams below them, it goes 64 points to the Red Wings and the Panthers, and then 63 to the Penguins, and then I believe it's 62 or 61 for the Capitals, and then the Buffalo Sabres at the end there. But it's all over the span of like 4 points difference, right? 2 wins can change everything. 2 losses can change everything. So this is a big race. Real tight. Anything can happen at this point. So now is the time for these teams to act. Instead of waiting for March 3rd, which is in a week and a half, I guess actually a week and a half basically. So I would say these teams should do something now than wait for that day to come, because that's 2 games that could come up. That's 3-4 games that these teams could win with their new players and built rosters. So the time is now to act for these teams like the Red Wings, who are right there, and especially a team like the Red Wings who's been out of the race for a long while, and they're obviously going in the right path because they've got these young players that are built for the future, but things are seeming to fall around them. Dylan Larkin and Tyler Bertuzzi, seems like contract talks haven't even happened yet. Nothing's going on between the two the team and the players. So obviously, what are they going to do in this situation? Because without this problem, I would say go in and buy in the market. But this team is still young, and I don't know if you want to jeopardize that future yet. I mean, not really jeopardize, but elongate these eventual success. Because the thing I always say about these teams like the Devils' problem, and the reason why they're finally good now, is that over the last few years, they've had all these good players in Heischer and Hughes, and I mean, every single one of those players have been on the team for a long while now, but they haven't been good. And that's because they haven't had that veteran leadership to help them boost these younger players play at the NHL level. They've just been thrown on the ice, and they've slowly grown, and now Hughes is finally a superstar, right? So that has been the problem, and you don't want that to happen to a team like the Red Wings, because if you lose Bertuzzi and Larkin, who are these young guys who are going to slowly be brought back up, going to play with? And it's going to just elongate the future. So it's going to be an interesting situation here for the Red Wings. So to be a buyer could jeopardize your future, or the seller could do the same exact thing. So I guess it's time to play the game, buyer or seller. Whatever. So buying. So if you want to be a buyer, Steve Yzerman, right? What are you going to do? Okay, so to be a buyer this year, obviously the one thing that you have on your side is that you actually have cap space and picks to trade away, right? Because a lot of these teams in your race don't really have that, of course. Like everyone. You're one of the few teams that actually have some cap space. They've got $6.5 or so million to spend, so they have space to actually bring in a player without even the other team having to hold half a contract or something, right? So they can go out for a Meyer, they can go out for like a Michael Granlund, they can go out for a Gostisbehere or a Chikrin. Patrick Kane, of course, then they would have to hold some cap, but they actually could take on half a retained salary instead of having to trade away a player as well. So that's one thing that's going for you. You can actually build your team for the playoffs and actually make them for the first time in a long while and make your fans happy, but it also could make Tyler Bertuzzi and Dylan Larkin happy. Because if I was these 2 guys, I'm sure they're probably thinking, we're 2 guys in our prime still. Soon enough, we're in our mid-20s, and we're going to be almost to our 30s in a few years. The teams aren't going to look at us as superstars anymore. We might not have that same money value. I want to go to a better team like the Bruins and actually make a difference and succeed and actually be viewed as a better player than be stuck on this team. But if you go out there and buy, and you bring in Timo Meyer, and you bring in Shane Gostisbehere, Chikrin on defense, and maybe you bring in one more piece like I don't even know, like Chris Tanev, I don't know what the hell. So just anyone else, and make this team playoff worthy and go into the first round and actually play in the playoffs. That would be spectacular for your fans and the team, and obviously this future is bright for this squad regardless of anything. But that might make Bertuzzi and Larkin happy, and they might re-sign with the team, and all is good in the world. As well, another thing is the thing about you with your cap space is that these picks, these trade deadline pickups don't need to be rentals. They can actually be re-signed. They can actually rebuild this team and make them better for the future. So that's why you can bring in a guy like Jacob Chikrin and make your defense already good. I mean, your already good defense even better. You already have Hronik. You already have Seider, who's incredible. Bring in a guy like Jacob Chikrin, and that defense is going to be even stronger. You got three at least good pairings, three good defensemen. You could put one on each three of the defensive pairings. Maybe you put one on one, whatever. Right there, perfect move, and you can build for the future. A guy like Meyer, you could bring him on and re-sign him. Who wouldn't want him to be part of your future? So that would be perfect for the Red Wings. They can actually build for the future. And a guy like Patrick Kane, too. I'm sure Patrick Kane probably doesn't want to be on the Red Wings. But, I mean, just an idea. They could actually bring him on. This contract expires. They could re-sign him to like a $6.8 million or something, right? So they don't need to trade for rentals. They can be a part of the team for future to come. So that is one big boost of being a buyer this year, is that not only are they going to be good this year, but these guys can stay around and play again next year for them. But at the same time, that is exactly why they should be a seller, because this team is still young, and they also might not be playoff worthy regardless of anything you bring onto the team. You don't really know if Dylan Larkin and Tyler Bertuzzi even are going to be playoff contenders, right? Who knows about anything about this team if Moritz Seider will be a defensive, like a headman in the playoffs. You know, you don't know if Ville Husso, well, I guess you do know Ville Husso. Actually, he fell apart in the playoffs last year for the Blues. So I don't even know if their goaltending would be ready. So, and most of this team is young and still growing. I don't think this team might actually be playoff worthy regardless of the guys they bring in. The core of this team might not be playoff worthy. So you might go in and trade away all these guys and, all these picks, and then you go into the playoffs and still get stumped by, most likely, the Boston Bruins. And if not even them, you get the second pick. If you get to the first wild card spot, because they're not going to make it into the top three of the Central, you might get stuck playing against the Hurricanes or the Devils or the Rangers, and I don't see this team really, at this point right now, the way they're built right now, beating one of those teams. So it might all be for nothing. So you could sell and get rid of Bertuzzi and Larkin. Who knows, maybe in like a Perron in a deep draft this year. If there was a year to trade away and bring in some draft picks, it would be this year. So, and that's another thing, is that this team is still young, and I always say it for these teams that are kind of still rebuilding, is that now is the time to add more fuel to the fire and to that prospect pool, right? For a team like the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Anaheim Ducks, is that right now you guys are looking good. So are the Red Wings. They're looking good, and they just need more of these young guys to be added to this pool and grow, and are going to make this team even better for the future. And if there was right now, I don't even, this team is a perfect position to trade away and bring in some more picks and make this team's future look even better with what they've already got. So you could do that as well. And if there was a time to trade them, this would be the year to do it, right? And there's already scrumblings of it, and it wouldn't be a surprise, and I don't think people would be very mad, because these young guys, Edvinsson and Ekblom and all the other ones, are going to be coming up soon enough and make this team even more spectacular than it already is. And you can also build for next year, because then instead you could trade Larkin or Bertuzzi, and instead of bringing in just a draft pick, maybe you bring in a younger guy, the younger prospect that's already been drafted, who knows, maybe like this wouldn't happen, but like a Cole Perfetti or something, like that wouldn't happen, obviously, but I don't know. What do you think? Would Larkin and Bertuzzi be a fair fair trade for just a Cole Perfetti? I don't know. Maybe. Seems kind of interesting. Or I just have this random throughout their idea. What if, this is kind of a mix between buyer and seller, what if they trade and do a Calgary move where you get rid of your two top guys and then you bring in another pair of two top guys? Just an idea. What if they got rid of Larkin and Bertuzzi and then they brought in like Kane and Timo Meier? It's just an idea. It would be crazy to think about, but what if they just replaced their top two guys with other two top veteran players? That's an interesting move that could happen. I don't think Kane would actually go here. I don't think that would happen. But maybe you do something like that, and instead of just throwing out your top two guys, you just bring in another two, and who knows, maybe they could win the trades and they could bring in some draft picks along the way. So that is really all I have to say. Actually, that's not all I have to say. So between the two, what do I think the Red Wings should do? Should they buy or sell? Obviously, I don't know anything about what's actually happening behind the scenes in contracts talks or whatever, but if things really aren't going to happen between Larkin and Bertuzzi with the team to re-sign, if they really aren't going to, then obviously trade them away, get something in return. And if they are, maybe they're like, I want to make the playoffs, and maybe that's what their contingency is, then I would say go out and buy. And the one thing, too, is you don't have to get rid of their draft picks this year. You can get rid of the ones from next season, right? And keep the ones for this year and try to build for the future and then draft this year. So I truly think that at this point, I would actually say they should just sit on their hands and not do anything with the team that they got right now. Maybe make one move just to see what happens. But I think at the end of the day, whatever they do, they still wouldn't be good enough to beat the Bruins or the Rangers or the Devils or the Hurricanes or any of the teams that they would actually end up fighting in the first round. So I don't think it would matter anyways. But that is all I have to say about the Detroit Red Wings and what they should be doing at the NHL trade deadline. So thank you for watching this. If you somehow like this video, please pick up your free subscription down below. We're on the road to 100. We're at 91 right now. We're almost there. Come on. Click that red subscribe button. Like this video if you liked it. Don't go down to the comment section below. Please go to the comment section down below and tell me how stupid I am and how dumb my voice sounds right now, as I'm still, voice hurts. So thank you for watching this, and until next time, too sweet. I hope you're having an amazing day, and ta-ta for now.